Hi, everyone. I wanted to share something that is just so like God. It's incredible. So, I've been seeing a Christian counselor for a number of years. Last year, I saw her for a couple of reasons. One of the things that she was helping me deal with EMDR therapy was dealing with the trauma of losing my first husband to suicide. He and I were divorced for about, I don't know, 2 years when it happened, but it was just awful. And I haven't even gotten to this portion of my testimony yet where I can share about what that was like walking through it. And I'm still walking through that. I don't know that I ever won't be, maybe not, but it's been very, very difficult for myself and, of course, my children. So I was seeing her last year, like I said, to work through that trauma. And then I saw her a few more times. The last time I saw her last year, I was sharing with her that I was going to start this podcast, and I felt like God was calling me to share my testimony, like I've shared with you many times. And I wanted to see her last week to kind of fill her in, like, hey, I did it, and this is what's been happening. And so I sat down with her for about an hour, and we talked about the podcast, and she was sharing with me that she'd been watching it, and she's about up to, I think, episode 5, which was pretty cool. And she also agreed either herself or her daughter would come on my podcast so I could interview them, which is really neat. I'm looking forward to that. But while we were sitting there and I was sharing with her, hey, it's been really hard for me to share about my testimony, but it's also been very healing. It's been both. And she was listening in on it. I told her about how many women almost daily reach out to me to thank me for coming forward, for talking about this topic that nobody wants to talk about. And I hear from women who are telling me that now they've gotten their voice, or now they're ready to come forward, or just how much it's ministering to them that I'm talking about it. So, like even this weekend, I think I've heard from 3 or 4 different women. So anyhow, last week when I was in my counseling session with her, we were finishing up. So she was looking through my file. And before I stood up to walk out, she said, Monica. And she had a funny look on her face. And I said, yeah. And she was looking at this piece of paper. And she said, you were supposed to come back last year to go through more EMDR. And I said, oh, I thought we finished. She was, but this was about something else. She said, it says right here that you were wanting to start EMDR to help you find, listen, your voice. And she smiled at me really big, and it was kind of an aha moment. And she said, girl, you have found it. Keep going. And I thought, oh my gosh, isn't that just like God? Here, I do believe in therapy, and I think it can be very helpful. But I also believe, and even more importantly, that God can do something in our lives in one moment that could take people years and years and years of therapy. Because last year in prayer,